What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Woodland Pursuit. Today we're going to be going over how to fletch arrows. All right, so this is my personal preference and this is how I do my own personal arrows. Right here you'll see I'm going to be fletching up an arrow that's going to look just like this. This is my Black Eagle Carnivore that I shoot out of my MATHEWS lift. Arizona Archery makes the AAE Max vanes that I'm going to be using today. And I'm also going to be using a Last Chance Archery Vane Master Pro fletching jig. This is my personal favorite jig. There's a lot of jigs out there on the market that'll get the job done. This is the one I choose to use. All right, so I got my kit here with everything I need, all my vanes, all my tools. Got my AAE glue. I got my AAE primer pens, which is an essential step. Make sure you have these. And I'm set up, so let's get this done. All right, so an essential step of doing this is having an arrow that's already done up so you can clone this arrow. You want an exact copy. So I'm going to use this arrow to make sure everything's just right with my Vane Master Pro. Now I'm using a left 5-degree helical on these vanes. All right, so I'm going to stick it in the jig. And line everything up here. All right, guys, now that the jig's set up, let's pause for a second for me to ask you to please subscribe to the channel. All right, my content takes me a lot of time and a lot of effort. Please do me a solid and just subscribe to the channel. It gives me a huge shout out and it's a huge, morale booster for me to keep doing what it is that I do for you. So don't forget, subscribe. All right, with that done, we're going to take our first shaft. We put it in right here. It goes in a little crooked on this one. You just advance it, put the knock in there, and push the knock all the way down. And then you have this little cap with a bungee that's connected to the jig. And we put that on the end of the arrow. And that's just going to make sure that during the fletching process, it's pushed back into the knock, like receiver area, and nothing moves. All right, and make sure on a click, there's the click right now. Now this has 3 clicks, 1, 2, and 3, and they're all evenly spaced. Unlike some jigs aren't evenly spaced, but this one's indexed perfectly. And we're just gonna make sure we fully engage a click each time we turn it, so it's not off at all. This part comes off. All right, and we got 2 different wires right here. All right, you just simply take your fletching that you choose to use, and I'm going to use the same as what's on here, which is like, I think they call it fire red or something. All right, so right here on the wire, you'll see that there's black and then it turns to clear. All right, so right here, you can kind of see that this is all blacked out, and that's where we want to line our vane up at, so we have consistency. And you'll see that the vane sits in between 2 wires there. All right, so using the AE primer pen, all right, so we're just going to go up and down and prime this. I do 2 passes, you don't have to go crazy. I'm also gonna grab these ones too and do them. It's a little harder doing them when it's in your hand. Do not get this on where it says AAE, the print, because it will take it off on you. You don't want to use too much glue because you're going to have squeeze out, but you don't want to use not enough to where you don't have maximum adhesion. Okay, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to use a couple more dots, 6, 7. We'll do 7, but they're small, small, small. I don't have a lot in there at all. So that's what I'm going to start with. And then I spread it on through so I don't have any pockets, and then I'll look for squeeze out when I'm done with this. So now I stick this on the rails. All right, I got plenty of time to work with this. Once it touches this, I make sure this is pushed back all the way. Once this touches the shaft, it's a done deal and you're gonna have a mess to clean up. So make sure you take your time. Scoot it all the way in, press it up against the arrow, and then just give it a little snug with the arrow shaft. And hold it, and I count in my head to between 30 and 60 seconds, all right? And at 30 seconds, it should be held. At 60, it'll definitely be held, all right? So I give it a little hold for about 10 seconds, all right? And then I'll let go, make sure it's pushed up against it. Then I just let it sit there, and we can count away. All right, now, so by now, it should be stuck, all right? So what I'm gonna do is gently push away on the clamp. I'm gonna rotate it a little bit, and then with the Q-tips, I can clean up my squeeze out because I'm super OCD about getting all that squeeze out off because I want my arrows to look pristine. All right, so we slide that back, and it's held in place already. And I come up and I look for squeeze out. You notice as I concentrate, I breathe harder because my sinuses are really jacked. So I breathe like a freight train, so sorry. So these veins are longer, and I think that's why I thought I only did like 3 to 5 drops. I'm used to doing those short little blazer veins, and I recently switched to these. I say recently, but it's been like a year or 2, but I've been running blazer veins forever. So I'm really kind of in that mindset still. But these ones just take a couple extra drops. And with anything, you just modify whatever you're doing to the circumstances in front of you. So it's really not a big deal. Just take your knowledge and just adapt it. Now, if I get any squeeze out, it's gonna get on these little plastic tubes of the wires, and these are made that the glue doesn't adhere to it. And so it usually, if it's not on there for a really long time, it wipes right off. But if you get these things really nasty because you're working at a shop and you use it all the time, they're replaceable. All right, so same deal. We got this on, we double check everything, press it on down. I like to give it a little snug just to make sure everything's seated good. I'll grab the back side of the clamp and the arrow shaft at this point when it's pushed all the way up, just because that seats everything in the tool. The wires and the fletching and the shaft puts everything close. I hold it for about 10 to 15 seconds because by then this glue has pretty much done its job. All right, at that point I can let go. There's still some force to it. Sometimes I'll even give it a little bit of a push to make sure it's still pushed against it, that didn't pull away a little bit and get air in there, because that'll blow fletching off. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and pull this away. Now, when I pull this away, I put 2 thumbs on the clamp and I just kind of slide gently away. And the wires slide right down the vein and we're good to go. Now we check for squeeze out. There we go. Double check the spacing. Looks good. All right, so now we wait. It's very repetitious. It's very much a lot of the same thing. Once you get in your groove and in your pattern of doing this and you're comfortable with it, you'll just keep ripping through them one at a time, and you'll notice that you just kind of find yourself bored doing this because it's just so repetitive. However, I usually just jam out to music or watch a TV show in the background. A lot of times I have my phone sitting on the side and I have a 1 minute timer, and I hit that because like I'm doing multitasking, doing other things, or just not paying attention. And when it alarms, I take this off after a minute and go on to the next fletching. I don't like to go any longer than a minute. And the reason being is the glue will start to get harder to wipe out the squeeze out. Like you want to be able to get that off. So if you wait too long and you walk away and you start doing stuff and you have a lot of squeeze out and you try to wipe it off, you're not going to be able to get it. So just note that. So if you are like me and you want your arrows to look really clean, you'll want to stay, you know, close by and not let it go any longer than a minute. All right, let's take this off. All right, now this arrow is done. I'm still gonna rotate it and look for squeeze out, and I don't see any. So we're gonna pull this one off. But first, let's take this cap off, because that's pushing pretty hard. You see that snap? And then we take the arrow off, and there we go. So now we have a fully fletched arrow there. You can see that. All right, if you can look from back here, that arrow looks pretty good. So now I'm going to take a close inspection of it. Everything looks good. I got all contact that I need on the veins. I'm not going to touch or mess with these veins at all right now because it's still kind of soft. I don't want to mess them up. So I usually stand them somewhere like this and I leave them for a half of a day before I even touch them because I want them solid. I don't want them moving. But there we go. One down. I only have 3 more to go, and that's because I was shooting, you know, groups or something, and, you know, an arrow hit another arrow and I blew a vein off. One time I was tuning my bow and forgot to dial in my QAD correctly, and it didn't drop like it was supposed to, and that ripped one of my fletchings off. And stuff like that happens. You know, you overlook things, or you have a brain fart and whatnot, and you'll lose a fletching here or there, and I just throw the shafts aside. And then when I get a couple of them like today, I fletch them all up, and with tack coming up, I need all my arrows. So I'm gonna get them all fletched up and take them with me. All right, so with that being said, we're done. All right, I'm gonna rip through the other 3, and then we'll come back and summarize all this. All right, guys, so that pretty much does it. All right, so you see right now I got 4 freshly fletched arrows. You can see right there. I think they look amazing. I love this helical. I love this vein and arrow combination. It's a standard diameter carnivore. However, you know, even though it's a little bit, you know, bigger in diameter than than what is trendy right now. I really enjoy them. I really think that they fly great, and I'm shooting out at 100 yards all the time, especially with the Total Archer Challenge coming up soon. These arrows go good, and the crosswinds, I don't really feel like they affect them too much. So my recommendations when fletching an arrow: 1, watch more YouTube videos on how to get it done, because there's more than one way to skin a cat. For sure, there's a lot of people that I even watch that I get my advice and my information from, or maybe new information and new ideas that I adapt to what I'm doing now, because archery is always evolving. It's always building upon itself and getting better and better. So keep an open mind and get out there and find out all the latest tricks and tips. What I recommend for a fletching jig is the Vane Master Pro here. You'll see the Vane Master Pro. Hope I can zoom into that. I really enjoy this jig. I've had a ton of fletching jigs. This is my favorite one so far. Some of my friends though, and people that I know, they don't care for it, but it's like anything in archery. Everyone has their own personal opinion and style and things that they like to do. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like I said, there's a lot of tools in archery. As long as you adapt them correctly, we can all be very beneficial from what we have available to us. All right, so get out there, get some arrows in the air, and as always, I wish you the best of luck on your woodland pursuit.